Hello, I'm Karabo Majola, and this is The Sit Down. Now, today, I will have a conversation with a young man that was described, or rather, that was listed as one of South Africa's young authors in 2016. Listen, he gave us a book called The Whispers of Life. And that book actually earned him a YB20 award, an exclusive sit-down talk with the late Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela, Ntate Andrew Mlangeni, and the late Uncle Kathrada, Mohammed Kathrada. And he's had conversations with the former president of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, and many other icons that you can think of. He's had, an interview with Afternoon Express, and he got the chance to sit down with Boni Mbuli and talk about his book. Listen, I'm talking about the son of the soil, Karabo Nkoli. Let's go inside and talk to him. I was going through the foreword of the book, and it was written by someone that I think is so phenomenal and formidable. I was actually looking for the word formidable. Okay. She is an activist against apartheid. She was an activist against apartheid. She's a medical doctor. She is a politician, a businesswoman, Dr. Mampele Rampel. She wrote the foreword, ya buka ya hao. So now, how do you get a hold of her?
Well, I have a relationship with Dr. Rampel. I first met her shortly after I published my first book, Whispers of Life. And it happened that when I went for my interview for Afternoon Express in Cape Town, I met with her the following day. And then that's where the relationship developed, and she has been one of my mentors from there. And so I thought it was befitting to have her write the foreword, seeing the content covered in the book, as she comes from that generation that fought apartheid, while we are this generation that fights the new battles of our generation. So it was navigating those two worlds together, which is why it was befitting for her to write the foreword of the book.
That is so interesting. So now you meet a woman of this stature, a woman that is so formidable. Again, I use the word. How does it feel? Meeting her for the first time, sitting down with her, having that conversation you had with her with regards to your first book, Whispers of Life. How does it feel?
It feels humbling, but most importantly, because of such encounters, they are the ones that lifted me up. To keep me moving forward, that you've had your first book published, you have our support. So we've been where you've been, we are going to support you, and that's exactly what they did. So I think having that encounter with her was what made it possible for me to never give up in terms of ensuring that I have my voice heard in society. And that's exactly what she did. She uplifted me, young as I was, vulnerable as I was, with my doubts. She uplifted me and supported me.
Sure, that is so amazing, man. So I was going through the foreword of the book, and I was going through some remarks that she made that I felt, this is so. So I want to go through 5 remarks that she made in her writing. The first part that I highlighted was this one. She says, Karabo's book is a case in point of active citizenship in the face of monumental failures of leadership around us at home and abroad. Now, the second remark that she made is this one. She said the book is calling all of us, young and old, to overcome the fear that is holding us back from speaking up against all the ills detailed in this book: corruption, nepotism, violation of human rights of our fellow citizens due to poverty, gender-based violence, public violence, and undermining of the rights of citizens to high-quality basic services, especially education, health, and dignified human settlements. And another point that she made, the third point that she made, is this one that says, the book is rich in examples of what is going wrong within ourselves as individuals, in our families, our communities, our schools, and the wider social space. Another one that I highlighted is this one. The book is also a treasure trove of example of good and bad governance across our continent. Okay. And another one says, Karabo's call to action is an opportunity for your generation to build on the foundation laid by my generation that seems to have lost its ways. What goes through your mind when you go through the foreword, when you read such remarks? What goes through your mind?
What goes through my mind is the fact that she read the book in depth.
Okay.
And really dwelled on what the book is all about, because I think anybody who's reading the book, by just reading the foreword, they already have an idea of what the book is all about, in terms of how she conveys the message, and how she also comes out to talk of the contributions of her generation, and also how it is that our generation must also contribute to the change that we seek, and also how she analyzes the wrong that the book confronts and everything.
There's a part where she says, conscious in crisis is a wake-up call to young people to stop waiting for the older generation that is failing to lead. Now, what went through my mind when I went through that line was like, for Karabo Nkoli, the game is on. Literally, the game is on. It was a situation for me. What went through my mind was, shucks, he's given so much, and now too much is given, too much is expected. Did you feel that pressure?
I didn't. I just felt that it's my place to, young as I am, to ensure that my contributions in terms of ensuring that young people are conscious of their surroundings, so that they can also be conscious of being leaders and active citizens in the country. So that's what drew the book, the inspiration behind the book itself.
Again, in that line, she says, young people need to stop waiting for the older generation that is failing to lead. I concur with the statement.
Definitely.
Looking at the state of our economy, what do you think about the statement?
I think it reminds us as young people that we have to stop with this thing of entitlement, that things have to come our way, that people have to do things for us. When are we going to be at the dinner table and make decisions for ourselves and contribute to that change that we want to see become a reality? Because I think much more than anything, it's important that instead of being the complainer of the state of your country, be the catalyst of that change you want to see become a reality.
You can't say that and just pass by.
You can't just say that and
like you
pass
said
by.
nothing. No, you can't say what you just said and pass by like you just said nothing. Can you repeat that statement?
I'm saying that it's much more important in life that instead of being a complainer of the state of your country, be the catalyst of that change you want to see become a reality.
I love that. I literally love that. I went through the preface of the book, and your friend Naledi Mojaji wrote the preface, and there's something that she spoke about that I could relate with. She says that I knew then that there was something different about Karabo, the way he carries himself, the charisma, the humility, the attitude and positivity that came off him made. Okay, let me reread that statement. The attitude and positivity that came off of him made him one of a kind among young people in my age group. He had a way with words. One could immediately tell that he is wise beyond his age. When I first met you, this is exactly how I felt. This is exactly how I felt. I feel like Karabo was with me when I first met you. In fact, she wrote something that was in my mind when I first met you. I feel you're so different. Do you feel like you're different?
I don't.
Why? Because like I feel like you are. I feel like you are.
I just feel that I'm young, African, and gifted. That's it. Yeah.
Young African, African
And gifted.
and gifted. I'm gonna move over to the introduction of the book.
Okay.
And I highlighted something that I want us to talk about. Now, in the introduction, you say that initially I had written about 5 books, and as the years went by, the experiences I've encountered in my life, the people I've come to meet, and the consciousness of my surrounding country and why things are happening have made me to question more than I did when I released my first book. Now, where are those other 3 ones? Because you've given us Conscious in Crisis and Whispers of Life.
Those other 3, it's all a build-up of Conscious in Crisis. Because after I published Whispers of Life, I was already busy with Conscious in Crisis.
Okay.
It's just that I think also when you read the book, you'll realize that already one chapter on its own is worthy of having its own book.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
that's how the entire book came to be. That I have to focus on Conscious in Crisis because of the relevancy of the message. Also, because also I don't write for the sake of writing. I write because of a higher power that possesses how I write and the message that I say.
Now, if you were to give a title to the other 3 books, what would they be?
To be honest, I don't know.
You don't know?
Because as I told you that, also now I feel like this is going to be my last book for a while.
Okay. However, we are grateful that you gave us this book. We are grateful that you gave us this book. Now, there's a part that I really feel like forms part of the purpose behind this book. It is found in on the 8th page, just the last sentence. The last paragraph rather. It says that as you read this book, I want you to feel a sense of responsibility to take that baton and to run with it, because this is your country and this is your time. Is this the purpose of the book?
It is, to make young people realize that wherever you come from, whatever background you come from, whatever environment you occupy, whether it's in business, politics, everywhere, occupy your space and realize that you can bring that change that we want to see become a reality. It's all about reminding young people that occupy your space and be part of the solution and do not contribute to the problems we are facing.
Now we're going to jump straight into the first chapter of the book. What is the mission of this generation, you ask? And you start by quoting Franz Fanon, and the quote reads as follows. He says that each generation must discover its mission, fulfill it, or destroy it. It's a powerful quote.
Very powerful.
It's a powerful one. I concur with it. I love it actually. So you continue to also talk about different types of generations. You talk about the generation of Shaka Zulu, King Mushweshwe, Mziligazi, Makana, Sikukune. You go straight to the generation ya Mewini Madikizela Mandela, Memiram Makeba, Steve Biko, Livatambo, to the generation of 1976. What do you think as generation Yakajenu we should take from that generation?
What we should take is inspiration from them.
All right.
Because once we can be able to take inspiration from them, we can be able to take responsibility.
Okay.
We have to identify them as ordinary human beings like you and I. Because they were ordinary human beings who stood for something. They stood for something, political freedom.
Okay.
Understand? And so we also have to define our lives according to that. To tell ourselves that as individuals, we are incapable of achieving things. But if we do things in the name of collectivism, as they did, we can be able to conquer the challenges that we are facing. What they remind us is the fact that we are not the first to face problems, but we can be the first to not confront our problems if we are not conscious of the importance of unity, which is what sustained them, as a generation. So, us channeling our unity will enable us to be able to confront our challenges as we find solutions to the problems we are facing as a generation.
So you think they're still relevant? Those ethics that they used to live with, they're still relevant even today?
Definitely, because as Frantz Fanon describes it clearly, that there is a sense of mission in each and every generation. It's there, even those who came before us, they were standing for something. So when things are going wrong as they are, we also have to introspect on what is it that we are doing wrong, that our ancestors, our forebears didn't do. What is it that we are doing that they didn't do, and what is it they are doing that we are not doing? We have to ask such questions, because the thing is, with our generation, we are too self-centered. It's all about you, it's all about I. Why can't it be about us? Let us define our lives according to us as a generation, and then we will be able to sustain not only our lives but for future generations also.
Interesting how you mentioned self-centeredness. I'm still gonna touch on that.
Okay.
We're still gonna converse about that. But you've already mentioned that there are parts of the book that one goes through and goes like, this actually needs its own book on itself. For me, it's this part. You see this part? This part. Let me read what you said in the book. You say that it just doesn't make sense how you could claim to be fighting for the youth and then become a member of the same political party and parliament that does not want to give the youth what they refer to as decolonized education, free education. What exactly do they stand for, or rather represent? Who are they representing? And by those statements, I'm not saying I support or I am against whatsoever they are fighting for. I'm just writing my truth. What's your take on activism or activists?
Well, activism is the respiratory system of any revolution.
Respiratory system. Why?
Because activism is that which reminds people of what it is that people have to confront. Activism is that which reminds us that this is what's going wrong in our society. Activism is that which reminds people of their capacity to change the country. And activism also is that part of our world that enables us to confront the evils that we are facing in society.
Sure, that is deep. Now, you've mentioned forebearers, right? And many of them formed part of, various political parties, and which made them to be influential, which made them to be more involved, which enabled them also to have a say. And in the book, you state that you question why are now generations activists, the youth activists, forming part of, political parties that are seeming to be failing. Now, why? Why are you saying that?
Because that is a contradiction of principles for me. In a sense that that there is a certain political party that is responsible for the downfall of young people, and yet you are a part of that political party, and then you go on to tell young people that you are against whatever that political party is doing, whereas you are a part of the same political party. So it doesn't make sense, because you are the same cloth of the same organization. It's just a contradiction, in terms of, because also the problem is we have people who are chasing clout, who are all about popularity. We identify ourselves with what's popular, what's a brand, and so forth. So also because of how people are in leadership for the wrong reasons also. That's why.
Now, in my mind, I'm asking myself as to how then will they be influential? How will they be more involved? And how will they have a say if they don't form part of those political parties? How will they even bring about change? Should
It's
they
possible.
form their own political party, or what?
They should rebel, as I say. Rebel in the name of love for our country and our youth. They have to be disruptive, if I can put it that way, in a
In what sense?
constructive way.
In what sense?
In a sense that when they question the political parties, they question their own leaders when they are going astray. So my concern comes when they were outside, they were so vocal and
But now when they're inside,
opposing. But when they're inside, that voice is silenced. So that's my fear when I say of producing such leaders in the country.
Also, in the same chapter, you talk about unity. I did mention that we're going to talk about self-centeredness. You say that we cannot afford to live lives that are self-centered in a time that demands unity. It's an interesting one. Now that is such an interesting. What do you think is causing divisions within our society?
What's causing divisions in our society? So many factors, Firstly, cultures. Yeah, because you are a Mosotho, a Venda, a Motswana, so we don't share anything. And then you are from a certain religion, Muslim, Islam, Christianity, so forth, and even the Christianity space on its own, Catholic, Methodist, we're always looking for things to divide us rather than looking for things to unite us. Whereas all of those things, they lead to the same tree, they are just branches of the same thing. So the problem is we're always looking for things to divide us rather than looking for things to unite us. And then we pinpoint also in terms of societal status, because you come from this background, I come from this background, we live in different worlds whereby we live in the same country, and so we are so ignorant of the problems we are facing as a country.
How then do we integrate or interact or combine or unite? How then do we
same with when it comes to, let me start also on the religion space.
Okay.
You can be a Jehovah's Witness, a Methodist, a Catholic, and a Muslim, born again Christian or whatever, but understand that those are branches that lead to the main tree, which is our superior being, God. We have to realize that everybody has their own different way of connecting to the Creator, and we have to respect that. Same with when it comes to our cultures, we have this thing of generalizing that if you are a Xhosa person, you are like that, and so forth. Whereas we have to break those barriers. That no, I am actually not a Mosotho or a Xhosa. I am an African who is from Sesotho speaking descendants, rather than identifying yourself as Xhosa or whatever, because that is what breeds division in our country, whereas we have to identify ourselves as Africans with a variety of history and cultures and so forth.
How far are we then from reaching that?
We are very far.
We are
very far.
very far.
We are very definitely
I'm
very
thinking
far.
to myself, when are we gonna reach that
Because
level?
I think there's a need for that conscious of embrace
hence
your
conscious and
African,
crisis.
yes,
We are in crisis
identity.
of division. Now we have to be conscious of this.
Definitely.
You talk about an unidentified enemy in the book, that we are fighting an unidentified enemy. There's a part where you talk about that. Have you so far managed to identify this enemy?
When I say an unidentified enemy, it's a sense that we are fighting so many battles.
Okay.
That as young people, we don't even know where to navigate and how do we focus on fighting this? Because we are fighting the enemy of, which is also ourselves. You know, we are fighting enemies of the challenges that we are facing. We are fighting the enemy of us killing each other in our learning institutions. You know, we are fighting all of that. So that is what the unidentified enemy is all about. The many overwhelming challenges that we are facing, whereas our forebearers only faced apartheid. That was their own enemy that they were fighting, whereas we are now fighting a whole range of challenges, and that is where that term of unidentified enemies comes from. Yeah,
sure. And there's also something that I know personally. I know that you are so passionate about this, and you raise this awareness in the book. And when we conversed about this, I was like, shucks, I didn't know this. I didn't know this, and now I feel like, you know what, so much is currently being taken away from me as an African, you know, as a black person, and yet I'm sleeping. I literally have to wake up and smell the coffee and actually do something about this. The colonization of China towards our not even our country, Africa, the continent of Africa. You state that in the book. You say that no wonder the Chinese are in the process of teaching Mandarin in our African schools. And in page 83, you talk about the colonizers that are still very much there, and you describe the generation of our colonizers. And the first thing that you state is this. You say that they are identity-driven generation, and you say that they are going out of the comfort zone generation. They're the type that goes out of their comfort zone. And the third point, you say that they are technology connected generation, and you say that they are brilliant and informative, and you also say that they are patriotic generation. Patriotic generation. Also say that they are community-minded generation, and you say that they are instantaneous generation, and you finally say that they are multifaceted, which really made me go like, wow, this is a threat, because now 20 years down the line, we might actually look back and say Karabo Nkoli spoke about this. How do you discover this information?
Information, there's a thorough of research.
Because I don't think we are literate about it. Not so far. We are not.
We're not.
As a black generation, no, as a black nation, as Africans, we are not literate about it.
Definitely. So there's a whole research that I made. Also because particularly that Chinese colonization of Africa, it came to me in the form of a vision, that this is what's happening. And also in my visions, that's what directed me onward to get the information.
How does the vision come?
And there's that visualization in terms of everything that I wrote about in there, and how I construct also the message. Because I stated clearly that I do not hate the Chinese. I hate their well-calculated mission of taking over Africa.
How do we curb this mission? How do we overcome this strategy?
Well, it can only come to be confronted once people are conscious of this, which is why somebody had to write about this, which is what I did to make people realize that no, we are not free. As Mamla Tambulu said in 1992, not yet uhuru. You know, it's not yet uhuru.
So
and that's what I'm trying
freedom.
to, because it seems like we have become more imprisoned than we were even pre-1994. So what I'm trying to communicate there is that let us not be excited by political freedom and actually confront this hidden enemy that is the reason why our economy and our country is in the state it's in currently.
Sure, that is such a sensitive matter. It is sensitive, and I think we have to have more of these conversations, just so our people can be aware that there's a strategy out there, there's a mission out there, and 1, 2, 3, boom, we are gone. We are being colonized by another country.
And I'm sure you also read in the book, there's a part where I outlined also how they have influence in our country's media. That journalist who wrote of the Muslims who are being tortured in China and how he had his column removed because of the percentage that they hold in the country's media. And same with me. The media, once I released my first book, Whispers of Life, the reaction was very much welcoming. And then what happened is, when I released Conscious in Crisis, what happened is there were 2 journalists from 2 different media houses, and they had asked me where I'm based at and everything. You know, they want to have an interview with me. And then that's the last thing they said to me, that they want to have an interview with me. And then when I made follow-ups regarding that interview, it's never happened because of the influence. And I understood that perhaps it's because of the content that I covered in there, that I've written about China's influence in the country and in the continent, you know. But I'm like, now the book is out, and there's no way I am going to be silenced because of simply telling the truth.
Yeah, we need to have more conversations like this. We need to. We literally have to. You also touched on social media. Also talk about social media, and on the 5th page you say that there's a long quote. There's a long quote by P.L.O. Lumumba, who stated this in 2017, that you young Africans must change Africa. And if I were to paraphrase what she said, she's saying that we cannot change Africa by tweeting, by commenting, and by posting, but we can change by, rolling up our sleeves and by actually working. Now, do you think that social media has removed the essence of hard work in our country?
It has, because I feel like we have this thing that, because this thing trended, social issues that we face, if it trended for a week, wow, it means that everything is over and that everything's okay, whereas that's not the case. We have to go beyond this thing of only confronting issues on social media and also confronting them also in real life. That's what we have to do. So the problem is, we have this thing, we are a country and a generation that forgets. Something pops up that's said or whatever, and we react only through hashtags, but in reality everybody goes on with their lives as if they are normal, and that's a behavior we have to get rid of as a generation.
Still in that concept, there's something you wrote in page 9. You say that I do admit that social media today plays a crucial role in ensuring our voices are heard. It basically gives every one of us a megaphone, yet it does not pass the message through. So, which actually concurs with this question that says, you think that it removes the essence of working hard? Sure, but now we have to be cognizant of the fact that there's the 3rd industrial revolution, and that it's there.
It's there.
Now, how do we?
That's the thing. It has its positives and it also has its negatives. But it seems like there are more negatives to it than positives because of how people are losing their jobs. Jobs are being replaced by robots, and so you wonder,
that's the
in the
negative
future,
side of it.
what is it? Where are people going to work? Who's going to manufacture our products and so forth? Where are people going to work? And how are they going to earn their salaries? Such things made me to question the state of the 4th industrial revolution.
I also want us to talk about your mate that said this. Your mate said it hurt me deeply when a former high school mate said, we are the greatest generation that has ever been produced, yet we have allowed our fear to be what prevents us from reaching to the stars?
Definitely. I mean, our generation is gifted.
Yeah.
We are talented.
Yeah.
We are really gifted in so many things, you know. But we have given in to the challenges that we face and making it impossible for us to be able to reach where we want to head to as a generation because of such things. Because whenever we lose one young person, it affects all of us as a generation, because your existence on its own is capable of ensuring that we make progress in fulfilling our generation, our mission as a generation, and also in terms of ensuring that we do contribute to the rise of our society.
Now you define fear in two different ways. You say fear. Okay, you say that it is to face everything and rise, or forget everything and run. Which I think the first one is more positive, and then the second one it's more negative. Now, how do we as a generation overcome fear when there's so much nepotism, corruption, and abuse of power in our country? How do we actually get rid of fear or overcome fear? How do we do that?
We have to realize that there's nothing bigger than unity.
All right.
Let us have one voice, you know. Let us move as a collective in terms of voicing out our frustrations and everything. Because the thing is, we can only do as much as an individual. But if we do things as a collective, we can be able to move steadily and change the status quo of our country.
Sure, that is so powerful. I think that is so powerful. You also touch on depression, which is a very, very sensitive topic, and I think, you know, more conversations must be there about, you know, depression. You say in the book that it was recorded by the SA Depression and Anxiety Group, which is SADAG, that suicide was the second leading and fastest growing cause of death among young South Africans in the 15 and 25 age group. Accounting for about 9% of all teenage deaths. It is also stated that for every suicide, there were believed to be at least 12 suicide attempts. I think Ricky Rick's death broke the silence.
It did.
It broke the silence, and for me, man, there's nothing that, you know, that is so painful than burying a young person that actually committed suicide.
Definitely.
And you think unity can play a role in overcoming depression?
I think also the need for us to restore that sense of caring for each other. Because the thing is, we are only kind once somebody passes away.
Yes.
Due to suicide. And then let's be kind and whatever. But after the person is buried, we go back
2 months
to
later,
our
we
normal
go back
self.
to our
our
old
self.
habits.
And so already life on its own, the country, the state of the country, it's too much, you know. So by such behavior, we are also destructive to our own selves, because even some of the suicides that have happened as a result of other young people destroying the lives of other young people. So we have to uproot such toxic behaviors amongst us as a generation.
Sure. You also say that we should re-energize ourselves. You say that I believe our generation must re-energize itself. How can we re-energize ourselves as the youth?
As I stated, because one thing that will re-energize us, it's coming together as a collective to say, okay, these are the problems we are facing, and this is how we can navigate on how we are going to overcome those challenges. That's how we should define our lives. Define our lives by how we are going to overcome the challenges we're facing, but most importantly, where do we want to head to as a generation? So that's how we should re-energize in terms of being in touch with the societal issues that we are facing, being in touch in terms of how can your presence, your existence contribute to the rise of our country and continent.
That is lovely. Now, what, as we wrap up this chapter, what then is the mission of this generation? Because you asked the question, how can you answer it?
Well, the mission of this generation is to say the unsayable, being the voice of the voiceless.
Okay.
And then also righting the wrongs that were done by those who came before us, confronting our challenges as young people, restoring the dignity of our country and of our continent to its rightful glory. That's the mission of
Now
this.
that must be our mission. Sure. I love that. I love that. Page 31, you talk about the state of women in our society. You say that you cannot be a woman and not realize your capacity to change our reality because they change because they change the country and continent of which we all hope for cannot happen without the involvement of women. Can I reread that?
Definitely.
You say that you cannot be a woman and not realize your capacity to change our reality because the change the country and continent of which we all stand for cannot happen without the involvement of women. I love that. I love that statement. I really concur with that. Now, you also say that there are things that are normalized that shouldn't be normalized. What are those things?
There's a lot of them.
Okay.
But
Just two.
I feel like we are at the state we are at now because of how we've normalized those things. Even the first one I would say is not having regard for the value of another life, which is why we are killing each other as we are currently. And the second one would be the disrespect of women in our country, which outplays in so many factors and environments of our society.
Going back to the line, or rather the statement I just read, how powerful are women in our society?
First of all, we are birthed by them. That
That's
on
the
its
fact,
own,
okay.
in the sense of nature, symbolizes their power, but also because they are nurturers of society. They are the pillars of our society. Remember that even when women had their husbands, uncles, comrades, lovers imprisoned, tortured, and some even killed, it was women who liberated the country, who were fighting tooth and nail the enemy, which was apartheid, fighting the soldiers and the police.
While their husbands
were imprisoned and some even killed. So that goes to show that women are powerful, and also that there is this misinterpretation of the nature and the purpose of the female, which we find in religions, cultures, which suppress a female's capabilities and her contributions to the rise of our society.
Sure. You also say that we all claim to be feminists when we don't even know what unit, or when we don't even know what unity of women is. Now, men can be feminists. Are you a feminist?
I wouldn't say that I am a feminist, but I am more of identifying, recognizing the value of the female. her place in society. Same with the men, you know.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there should never be an imbalance of the two. I think that's why there's this abuse that we see, because men are never taught on what their role is. They are seen as these violent creatures when that's not their real purpose, you know.
Yeah.
And then also females now, they are seen as objects and so forth. So I think with me, I'm more of the true purpose and nature of the female, recognizing that.
What's your take on feminism or feminists? What's your take on that?
My take on it is, it's good, although some parts of it have negatives, especially where men are, how can I put it, are toned down in the name of feminism, because I think it's a movement that should be about uplifting women, while also it should do so without destroying men. I think the only toxic part of it is where it comes in and tries to tear the other gender apart. There should be no gender that's left behind. All genders must succeed.
You also talk about predators. You say that the silence on the challenge our women face is what makes them even more vulnerable to predators out there. Who are they? Let's try and describe these predators.
These predators are those who view women as objects, and who take advantage of the fact that some of them are in need of their basic needs, you know. And so they use that as a way of using these females and stripping them of their value and using them for their own pleasure, you know, in exchange for giving them the help that they need, making them their slaves to them because of how they are in need and so forth. So these predators are those who use women for the wrong reasons.
Now, do you think that women are united?
They are not.
They're not, because you even say in the book, in page 50, you talk about. Actually, let me find it so I can quote from it.
Okay.
On page 50, there's something you say that women must fight patriarchy, but their division is preventing them from achieving the desired victory. So they are not.
They are not. I mean, they are in competition with one another for all the wrong reasons, honestly, you know.
Sure.
So that's why.
And how can they fight it?
They can only fight it once they retain their true value. Because the thing is, they define themselves according to materialistic things, you know, what they are wearing, what they are possessing. But I feel like if they can be able to define themselves according to their true nature and also their power to change our country, then things will change.
Sure. On page 34, you say, because the inevitable realities there is all women are naturally queens, yet we have to question as a society what has led to us producing slave queens, which has resulted in some women losing their identity and purpose in the struggle of their time. Sure, slave queens now, slave queens and social media influencers. Also, you even say in the book that we've allowed for materialistic things to define our success, which is why it has become a norm to have influencers helping others to reach a level of beauty that is not naturally attainable, instead of using one's influence to change the condition of our country. Someone might say, I'm a slave queen and I'm okay with it. I'm a slave queen and I'm okay with it. It's your problem if you want to argue if you want to argue the concept of slave queens, or if you want to have your say in me being a slave queen, but I'm a slave queen, I'm okay with it, I'm surviving, I actually love being a slave queen. What's your take on that?
Well, as I do mention also in the book, once again, as you read through it, I say that all women naturally are queens.
Yeah.
They are, but queens in what sense?
Oh.
Because in the society that we live in, we have slave queens are identified as those who are trendsetters, who portray living lavish lifestyles, and all about being materialistic things. And their lives should not actually be defined by that. They are more than that. Which is why I say that instead of them being slave queens, women are revolutionary queens. They are the ones who can bring the true liberation of our country, and restore our country to its rightful place, and ensure that young people do rise in this lifetime. So when we have a woman who are dedicated to that slave queen lifestyle, it goes back to that thing of me saying that we live a self-centered life, and by doing that, it's a hindrance to our rise, all of us as young people, So those are the effects that this slave queen lifestyle has on the overall life of our country and of the young people.
So now, do you think that because you also say in the book that there are things that we've normalized that are actually that we've normalized things that shouldn't be normalized? So the concept of slave queens and social media influencers are also, do they form part of those things that are normalized?
The things that we've normalized, I mean, years back we were shocked with when the term blessers came up.
Yes,
remember, and society was up in arms.
Yes.
But now
standing against it.
It's so common that it's nothing shocking. We see it every part of our lives, every corner of the country. It's what we see, old men exploiting young women, and it can be that we've reached this point where we've normalized this, and we have, unfortunately, and that goes to show you how the state of our country has deteriorated with the years passing by.
I want to thank you for rising, for continuing to converse about GBV, gender-based violence, because truth be told, women are dying every single day. Even now, as we're speaking, chances are there's a woman that is being killed by a man. As a man, I thank you for voicing out your weight against gender-based violence. How can we curb this pandemic? Because it's a pandemic. How can we curb it?
As I say, we can curb it once we realize that it's not even the problem of some individuals, that it's a societal problem. That we have to unlearn some of the things we have learned in cultures, because there are some cultures that are supportive of how men treat women, and I think there are some things we have to unlearn of how we view women, and also most importantly, how do men view themselves, because I think that men growing up, especially in the society that we live in, they are not taught to love themselves. And I think that we have to go back to the drawing board on helping men to love themselves, so that, because once they can be able to give themselves love, they will be able to extend it to their surrounding.
Their cup is actually running over, exactly. So they actually have something to
So
give.
The thing is, we have this thing whereby a man is a man because of how violent he is, and you are dominant. You show your dominance according to how violent you are and how you own this person, and it shouldn't be that way, but we've reached this point in the country.
Sure. You say in page 49 that there's a part that really okay, let me read the first part. The first part of page 49 It says during the year of 2016, a young lady who classified, or rather entitled herself as a blessee, stated, "Love must fall. What will I eat?" Which were words that echoed the reality of our society. Do you think there's gender equality in our society?
There isn't.
Are we far from reaching gender equality in our society?
We are. And also, I feel like...
And funny enough, we are, but we are so far from reaching gender equality. But each and every single day, there's a conversation surrounding gender equality, and there's the whole Wamandla, movement that's going on. But we are not seeming to reach our target.
We are not. Also because I think women are also not confrontative also of their own toxic behaviors, because they are only confronting the behaviors that are toxic of men, whereas they are not confrontative of also what they are doing wrong. And I think also because of this lack of transparency in terms of what it is that's preventing us to reaching certain goals as a country, that's why things are still worsening than with time going by.
And the first thing might be that they are divided themselves. They have to actually have one weight.
They actually have to have one weight.
You say our history and culture have shown us countless times how society is highly patriarchal, giving men who are in lives of women with the intention of only destroying it in a thumbs up. Now, patriarchy, I for one hate patriarchy in my working environment, and also you find that because I'm a broadcaster, you find that there's so much patriarchy in the broadcasting space, specifically radio. In the radio broadcasting space, there's so much patriarchy. In the film industry, there's so much patriarchy. In so many industries and in so many what can I say, departments, there's so much patriarchy. There's so much patriarchy, which is one thing that I really don't like. Even in our churches, there's still an argument of should women preach or not. Should women preach? Should women stand in front? Should women there's so much patriarchy, which I hate. What's your take on it?
My take on that is that patriarchy exists because of men who feel threatened by the female, who don't know the value of the female, and also who don't know the value of themselves, which reflects in how they treat the female and also how they do things, which is wanting to always be superior, in a sense that they belittle the female, and that's how they succeed in life.
Sure. Now we are back and we're going to talk about the state of men in our society, and we cannot talk about the state of men in our society by not touching on the issue of #men are trash. What do you think about, what's your take on men are trash? Do you think that men are trash? Do you oppose this movement or not?
I don't think there is this notion of men are trash, but rather that there is trashy behavior.
Okay.
Yes, I love that notion that there is trashy behavior.
But one thing I love about this hashtag, though I don't fully agree with it, is that it has enabled us to talk.
It has.
And say not in our name, not in our name. You're not gonna do things and then people are gonna say I'm a trash. So not in my name. That's what I actually like about this whole hashtag or movement. You also say that we witness how both genders continue to undermine each other because of how cultures, tribes, families and churches continue to have contradicting views on what a man is and what a man is obliged to do, resulting in the rivalry, vilification, and competitiveness that breeds deep division. What do you think should be done?
What should be done? We have, I don't know where we are going to get the education from, but we have to go back to the drawing board to educate really on what is the true duty of a man in society, his masculinity, his positive masculinity. How does it have a positive effect on our society, and also of the female? How does the female, her femininity, have a positive effect on our country? Because these contradicting views from religious institutions and cultural institutions have led to this reality we are seeing of the abuse of both genders as it's happening currently.
Sure. Now that was just a gist. It was just a gist of all what the book is talking about. It was just a gist. But what is your favorite line about the book, or from the book, or rather in the book? What's your favorite line?
It's, we stand on the shoulders of others.
We stand. I love that part. I love that line as well.
Someone is sure to stand on our shoulders,
And we
as
form
well.
part of. We form a pyramid structure.
And I say that I stand on Miriam Makeba, Winnie Madikizela Mandela, and Oliver's Tambo's shoulder.
As they continue to stand on.
And as I go on to say that they also stand on Albert Lutuli, Pixley, Kaiseke, and all the others. And so somebody's sure to stand on our shoulders as well. And so that evokes that thing, that what are we doing as a generation with the time that we have? Because we've been paid for, and we have the responsibility to pay for those who are yet to come.
Now there's an entire generation that's going to stand on our shoulders.
Yes.
And that's sad, because wow, look at where we at. As a generation, as a nation, look at where we at. It's very sad. Now, Oprah's intention, Oprah Winfrey's intention behind the Oprah Winfrey Show has always been about raising consciousness. Hence, she had those conversations. Hence, she's sat down with people she's sat down with. Hence, she's conducted the interviews she's conducted from. She's had conversations with murderers, rapists, cheaters. She's had some bizarre, conversations, and she's sat down with celebrities and all. And the intention has always been one, which is raising consciousness. What is the power of consciousness?
The power of consciousness is that it makes you to question things. It also makes you realize on what you're capable of. And it also makes you to be able to realize that this is wrong, that things cannot be this way. How is it that we have gotten to where we are? And so that's what consciousness exists for. Yeah, so consciousness is all about that. Realizing your power as an individual.
Realizing your power as an individual. That's beautiful. You've won an award for your first book, Whispers of Life, YB20. You've won that award. And now you are nominated for the second one. For this particular book.
For the Conscious and Crisis.
For Conscious and Crisis. Tell us more about it.
It's the African Honorary Author Awards, and it will be taking place on the 31st of July, this coming Sunday.
This coming Sunday. So now, who are you nominated with?
It's 199 other African authors, not only in South Africa.
Not only in South Africa,
Yes,
African authors. How does it make you feel?
It makes me feel humbled.
Yeah.
And it reminds me that my voice is actually making a difference through my writing and through me speaking.
That is beautiful, man. That is beautiful. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for allowing this conversation to happen. Thank you so much for pouring your heart in this book? Because you've already mentioned that when one gets to read this book, they actually get to realize, there's so much that's happening.
There is.
And also by reading the book, you find that there are concepts that need, or rather contexts that needs their own book, which really shows that you were literally throwing your heart or pouring your heart in this book. And thank you so much for that.
Because in 2017, Mamzinziswa Mandela said something that the first instrument that the Creator gave us is your voice. And she said, whenever somebody tries to silence you, be as loud as possible. So by me writing this book, I'm venturing on that journey that all those on whose shoulders I stand on went on. I mean, Mam Miriam Makeba was the voice of Black South Africans and also Africans as a whole. She used her singing to remind people of the suffering of our people. Mam Dorothy Masuku also did the same, and she would write of the socio-economic challenges that we're facing, and which led to her banishment of exile of 31 years. So it's all about that. It's all about saying the unsayable so that we may be able to attain justice and also rise as a nation.
And guess what? I echo those sentiments. I feel that those are sentiments, and I very much echo those sentiments. Again, thank you so much. We are done.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much. That's it from us. And thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share this YouTube video, or rather this video. If you're on Facebook, like, comment. If you're on YouTube, share, subscribe, and do all the right things again. That's it from us. Thank you.
Sure.